Anyway, we went to this course in Dubrovnik, Annalise and myself. This is very important because it's a funny kind of case where the frequencies apparently did not work at all. And he's a very extraordinary Russian scientist called Grigory Grabovoy, and this course was about his teachings. And he talks of something called resurrection, which is physical resurrection of people who have already left. And I was there with my colleague from Hong Kong who had kind of James Wong, who is a very switched on guy and a businessman and does a lot of subtle energy work. So he had invited, he said, Thrity, why don't you come, we'll meet in Dubrovnik. I said, okay, let's meet in Dubrovnik. So this was 17 days of this teaching stuff. Anyway, this process was, for me, I was very reserved about it. Though I go for the extraordinary, I don't do normal things. I never have, so I'm not normal. But this course, in that sense, really pulled me because it was something extraordinary, something that I hadn't thought about. But I had my reservations. So I was like, okay, I'm going to listen and I'm going to take it in, but I'm not going to do anything about it. James, on the other hand, was all gung-ho. He said, I've got this friend who died last year and I'm going to do the resurrection thing with him. So I don't interfere with you. Oh, go ahead, do it. So anyway, he did it. And Annalise and I were sitting together for breakfast. And the next morning, and Annalise said, James is limping. I said, oh, James is a solidly built, very healthy guy who looks after his health. And he was limping. So I went up to him and said, what's up with you? He said, oh, I've got a bit of gout. My left toe or right toe or something is very inflamed and it's not comfortable. And we didn't know. So James had the frequencies. He always has the supercoherence frequencies. So I said, yeah, try this, put the, etc., etc. And we were doing a lot of other health stuff with this Grabovoi system as well. So we were doing all these, what they call controls, which are kind of methods, and James is getting worse every day. We're doing this. I had the chelate. James is getting worse and worse, and his face is drawn with pain, and we were just puzzled. What the hell is going on, And the lady who was the instructor, she even emailed, she got in contact with Dr. Grabovoi and asked for some special thing for James, and she went to his room, and we had done everything, and James is just getting steadily worse. Now, this Grabovoi system, the man himself is extraordinary in my opinion, absolutely extraordinary. And the things that he does and the things that they showed us, I thought if all this can be done, what is happening with James? It's like a big white elephant in the room. Everybody must have been wondering that. And I was talking to Annalise, and I said, you know what? This is nothing to do with gout. It's something else that is happening here, which is part of the whole group, which is part of this whole process. Anyway, so on the last day, everybody had left on the 2nd, and this was the 3rd of April, and I was leaving on the 3rd. And James was in a terrible state. In fact, this strong guy, he was lying down, he couldn't bend his legs. So he was lying down, and it took both his wife and me to lift him to just walk a few steps to the bed. And we were wondering, how is this guy going to fly the next day, all the way from Dubrovnik to Hong Kong? It didn't look particularly great. So, and then we were talking, and his wife said, Thrity, it happened after this resurrection. And something clicked in my head. I said, oh, Yes. So and then I asked him, I said, so what did you do? He said, then he talked about his friend and what the friend in the States who had passed on and what had happened for him and how distressed he was and what had happened, the terrible things that had happened to his friend who was wealthy and, the whole story. And it was very clear to me as he's taken all that pain and made it his own. So he was lying on the bed. This is cutting a long story very, very short. And I said, okay, so all we are going to do is, what's your friend's name? Gave me his name. Put the frequencies on him, put the Divine Mother image as well. And you're not going to believe it. Within 2 minutes of that, James was lying on the bed, got up, and walked to the bathroom. No walking stick, no nothing. This guy who had to be lifted by 2 women just got up and walked. Our jaws dropped, honestly. And it was just that quick a turnaround. But it was interesting that none of the frequencies worked on him before until we did this. So this is just to remind you that these kind of things happen. And that when you put it on the photograph of somebody don't make their pain your own. Do not make it yours. That is the mistake. Because if you do, and the interesting thing was, he couldn't walk. And afterwards, I phoned him a couple of days once he reached Hong Kong. I said, how are you? Oh, he said, Thrity, I went to the construction site. I said, all the pain, everything had just disappeared. So from extreme pain to just like that. What's the lesson in there? The lesson is emotional energy. What are you carrying? How do you think? So I talked to him about that and what he had done to bring this on, in a way, and what he actually needed to do. So don't make it yours. Just do the clearing. And he was walking on the construction site, and no wheelchair, no nothing, everything is fine. And that's it. Is that amazing? Yes. I was totally gobsmacked. I couldn't believe it. It was in front of my eyes and I couldn't believe it. The speed with which it happened. So the physical body and emotional energy are the keys. If you want to look after the physical body, be very careful with that beautiful, potent force which is emotional energy.